The sky above Vareth Prime burned like a dying sun. Flashes of plasma fire painted the dark clouds in red and orange. Giant starships clashed above the atmosphere, while the planet's surface shook with explosions. The war between the Galactic Alliance and the Zorth Dominion had reached its most terrible moment. Amid the chaos, a human soldier named Captain Marcus Hale ran through the broken ruins of the royal citadel of Vareth. His armor was scratched, his energy rifle was nearly out of charge, and his comlink filled with shouts and static. He was far from his squad, far from safety. But Marcus didn't care. Somewhere deep inside this collapsing fortress was Queen Lyrana of Vareth, the leader of one of the most advanced alien empires in the galaxy. The Dominion had launched a surprise attack to capture or kill her, hoping to end the war in a single blow. The Alliance command had already ordered a retreat. But Marcus had overheard something through the comm network. The Queen was still alive but trapped under the lower levels. Everyone else had abandoned her. Marcus could not. He was a combat engineer, not a hero. Yet something deep in his heart told him that leaving someone behind, even an alien ruler, was something no human should ever do. Humanity might be small compared to the great empires of the stars, but courage was their weapon, and Marcus carried plenty of it. Smoke filled the corridors as Marcus made his way down through the citadel. Broken marble statues lay scattered. Blue alien blood marked the walls, and the guards of the Queen had fought to the last. "Queen Lyrana," Marcus shouted through his helmet. "This is Captain Hale of the Alliance. Can you hear me?" For a moment there was no answer. Only the sound of crumbling stone and the distant hum of plasma fire outside, then faintly through his communicator, "Help." The ceiling collapsed. "I'm trapped." Her voice was weak but steady. Marcus followed the signal until he reached a vast chamber, the throne room of Vareth, now a ruin. The ceiling had fallen, and part of the upper structure hung dangerously above. In the center of the debris, glowing under the dim light, he saw her. Queen Lyrana was unlike any being Marcus had ever seen. Her tall, slender frame was covered in silver armor, cracked and torn. Her skin shimmered faintly with a soft violet tone, and her eyes, bright and golden, still held pride despite the pain. One of her legs was pinned under a massive pillar. Marcus rushed forward. "Don't move! I'll get you out." She looked at him with confusion. "A human. You shouldn't be here. Leave now, the structure is unstable." Marcus ignored her words. "Not happening, Your Majesty." "Hold still." He set down his pack and began working quickly. His hands moved with precision as he activated a portable grav field generator. The small device emitted a faint blue glow as he placed it under the pillar. Come on, he muttered, adjusting the energy output. "Don't fail me now." The pillar trembled, lifted slightly, then began to hover. Marcus grabbed her arm carefully. "Can you walk?" She tried to stand, but her leg gave way. "I can move." Slowly. He supported her, wrapping one arm around her shoulders. Then we moved together. Explosions echoed from above as the citadel continued to crumble. They moved through shattered halls, Marcus half carrying, half guiding her. Dust rained from the ceiling, and every few meters they had to stop as parts of the structure collapsed. Outside, the sky thundered with battle. Through broken windows, Marcus could see the Alliance ships withdrawing, chased by Dominion fighters. He knew there would be no more rescue craft coming. "We're not going to make it," Lyrana said quietly. Marcus smiled through the dirt on his face. "That's not the human way to think, Your Majesty." She looked at him curiously. "Human way?" He nodded. "We keep fighting, until there's no fight left to give." For the first time, she almost smiled. Minutes later, they reached the outer corridor leading to the evacuation platform. A half-destroyed shuttle sat waiting, its engines flickering weakly. Marcus ran diagnostics on his wrist pad and cursed under his breath. "The stabilizers are gone. If we try to launch, it'll flip mid-air." Lyrana's golden eyes scanned the sky outside. "Then it seems my reign ends here." Marcus frowned. "Not today." He ran back inside the corridor, searching through wreckage until he found a power converter. With quick movements, he connected it to the shuttle's grav engine. Sparks flew as he crossed 2 wires. "There. That should hold long enough to get you out of the blast radius." Lyrana shook her head. "And what of you?" Marcus hesitated. "Someone has to manually hold the field stable until you clear the area." Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You'll die," he gave a small grin. "Maybe, but you'll live. That's worth it." The Queen tried to protest, but Marcus had already guided her into the shuttle. He closed the hatch before she could stop him. Through the glass window, she saw him attach the stabilizer cables to the deck and take his position beside the damaged grav field generator. "Marcus, hail!" she shouted through the intercom. "You cannot," he interrupted, his voice calm but firm. "Go, Your Majesty. Lead your people. Make sure this war ends." Then he hit the launch switch. The shuttle's engines roared to life. For a moment it wavered, unstable, then lifted, rising through clouds of smoke and fire. Marcus kept his hands on the control module, adjusting the grav field manually, sweat running down his face. The Citadel groaned as the ground cracked beneath him. The grav generator sparked wildly. Alarms screamed. The shuttle broke through the smoke, heading toward the upper atmosphere. Marcus looked up, watching it disappear into the burning sky. A faint smile crossed his face. "Worth it," he whispered. Then the floor gave way. A brilliant flash engulfed the Citadel. The explosion could be seen from orbit, a blinding light at the heart of the burning city. When Queen Lyrana's shuttle finally landed on the evacuation cruiser, she stumbled out, her body weak, her heart racing. She turned to look back through the viewing window at her homeworld. The entire Citadel was gone. Nothing but fire and ruin remained. Her guards surrounded her, asking if she was hurt, but she didn't hear them. All she could see in her mind was the image of the human who refused to leave her behind. She whispered his name softly, as if afraid it might vanish in the wind. "Marcus, hail!" That night, while the fleet retreated beyond the orbit of Vareth Prime, Lyrana made a silent vow. If she lived to rebuild her world, she would find him, no matter how long it took, no matter where he had gone. And so, as the stars drifted past her window, the legend of the human who saved the alien queen was born. But what no one knew, not the Queen, not the Alliance, not the Dominion, was that the explosion did not take Marcus Hale's life. Somewhere beyond the reach of known space, a wounded man drifted in the wreckage of a broken world. Still breathing, still human, still alive. 20 years had passed since the fall of Vareth Prime. 2 long decades since the night the sky burned and a single human vanished in the flames. The galaxy had changed in those years. The old war between the Galactic Alliance and the Zorth Dominion had ended, replaced by uneasy peace. Empires rebuilt, trade routes reopened, and new treaties tied once bitter enemies together. And through it all, Queen Lyrana of Vareth ruled her people with calm wisdom. Under her, the Vareth Empire transformed from a wounded nation into a guiding light among the stars. Her cities rose higher, her fleets patrolled further, and her name became a symbol of peace. But for all her strength and grace, there was one secret that no one knew. Every night when the halls of her crystal palace grew silent and the stars glimmered outside her window, she thought of him, the human. Marcus Hale, the one who had saved her life and vanished in fire. Queen Lyrana had never forgotten the way he stood against the collapsing citadel, holding back death with his bare hands. She remembered his words, "We keep fighting until there's no fight left to give." Those words had stayed with her through every challenge, every treaty, every battle she faced as ruler. The galaxy saw her as the unbreakable monarch of the Vareth Empire. But in truth, part of her heart was still trapped in the ruins of Vareth Prime, beside the human who had refused to leave her behind. For years, her advisors told her to move on. They said the human was gone, lost in the explosion or scattered across space. But Lyrana could never believe that. She had seen something in his eyes that night. Something powerful. Something eternal. Humans were fragile, yes, but their spirit burned brighter than any star she had ever known. And deep within her, she felt a strange certainty he was alive. One night, standing in the observation tower of her palace, she looked down at the endless city lights of New Vareth, rebuilt from the ashes of the old world. The wind outside hummed softly through the force shields. Her loyal commander, General Talon, stood behind her. He was tall and strong, his dark armor polished, his loyalty unquestioned. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "you called for me." Lyrana turned, her golden eyes thoughtful. "Yes, Talon. I have been studying reports from the Outer Rim colonies." He nodded. "There have been several incidents. Pirate raids, missing shipments. The usual disorder. Our patrols are handling it." Lyrana's gaze sharpened. "Not that. Something else." She touched a control pad. and a projection appeared. Images gathered from trade convoys and scout ships. Among them was a faint recording. A man in weathered armor, standing beside a small shuttle, repairing a damaged shield generator. His face was mostly hidden beneath a helmet, but the symbol on his arm was clear. A faded insignia of the Alliance combat engineers. The same symbol she remembered from that night. Leyrana's voice softened. These reports came from the outer wastes, near the forgotten worlds beyond Dominion space. They speak of a man, a human who travels from colony to colony, fixing machines, building defenses, saving lives. General Talon frowned. There are thousands of humans scattered across the border worlds. It could be anyone. Perhaps, she replied quietly, but my instincts tell me otherwise. He hesitated. Your Majesty, you've searched before, for 20 years. You've never found proof he survived. Leyrana's tone grew firm. Then it is time to look again. The general bowed his head. If that is your will, I will assemble a search fleet. No, she said. Not a fleet. This mission must be quiet. No banners, no politics. I will go myself. Talon's eyes widened in shock. You leave the throne? That's unthinkable. The council would never approve, Leyrana interrupted gently. Then they will not know. Her voice held a strength that silenced all protest. 2 days later, a sleek silver cruiser departed from New Vareth's royal hangar under the name the Starlight's Grace. Only a handful of trusted officers knew the truth, that the passenger aboard was their queen. In disguise, Leyrana wore a plain traveler's coat, her royal markings hidden beneath. The stars stretched before her as the ship slipped into hyperspace, leaving her empire behind. As the stars blurred into streaks of light, she stood alone in the observation chamber, watching them pass. For the first time in many years, she felt alive, not as a ruler but as a traveler once again, following a promise she had made long ago. Weeks turned into months as the Starlight's Grace crossed forgotten regions of the galaxy. She visited remote colonies, desolate mining stations, and worlds that hadn't seen an official envoy in years. Everywhere she went, she heard whispers. A human engineer. A quiet man who never gave his name. He fixed broken machines and refused payment. He helped the weak and disappeared before anyone could thank him. To the poor settlers, he was a legend. To the raiders, he was a ghost. To Leyrana, he was hope. At night, when she rested in her small cabin, she listened to the hum of the engines and closed her eyes. Sometimes, she imagined hearing his voice again, calm, steady, full of quiet courage. She wondered what he would think if he knew she was searching for him. One evening, as her ship approached a dusty planet called Carthon 7, her pilot reported a strange energy reading. Your Highness, he said, unaware of her true identity, I'm picking up a signal from the northern hemisphere. It looks like an old Alliance beacon, but it's been modified. Leyrana's heart quickened. Show me. On the screen appeared the faint outline of a settlement built against a rocky mountain range. The structures looked human-made, but some carried alien designs, familiar patterns from Vareth architecture. It was an impossible mix, human and Varethan together. She gave a quiet order. Land nearby. I want to see this place myself. The air on Carthon 7 was dry and filled with dust. The twin suns hung low, casting long shadows across the cracked ground. Leyrana stepped down from the ship, wrapped in her plain traveler's cloak. The settlement before her was small but alive. Children ran through the narrow streets, and merchants traded food and water filters. It was a community built from nothing, yet full of warmth. As she walked through the crowd, she heard them speak of someone they called the Ghost Engineer. He saved our farms when the power grid failed. He drove off the raiders last season. No one knows where he came from. He just appeared. Leyrana's heart pounded faster. She approached an old mechanic who worked beside a small generator. This Ghost Engineer, she asked softly, does he still live here? The mechanic nodded. Sometimes. He comes and goes. Keeps to the mountains north of here. There's an old outpost. He rebuilt it himself. The queen thanked him and turned toward the horizon. The mountains shimmered under the setting suns, distant and silent. For the first time in 20 years, she felt close, so close to the truth. That night, back aboard her cruiser, she stood at the viewport, gazing toward the mountains. Her pilot approached carefully. "Ma'am, do you wish to send a scouting drone first?" "The terrain is unstable." Lyrana shook her head. "No, I will go alone." He looked uncertain, but her tone left no room for argument. She prepared her light transport and set out under the twin moons, the wind carrying the scent of dust and silence. As she flew over the jagged rocks, she saw the faint glimmer of energy fields far ahead. An outpost, hidden, shielded, just as the mechanic said. Her heart began to race. Could it truly be him? After all these years, as her craft approached the entrance, motion sensors lit up. A voice crackled through the static of her comlink. "Unidentified vessel, turn back." "This zone is restricted." The voice was older, rougher, but familiar. Lyrana froze. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. "Marcus," she whispered. The voice repeated firmly, "Turn back. You don't belong here." She switched to open channel and replied softly, her voice trembling. "You told me once, Captain Hale, that humans never stop fighting. Not even when hope is gone." Silence. Then a gasp. The voice changed, lower, uncertain. "Lyrana?" Her ship landed slowly outside the hidden base. The doors slid open and the Queen stepped out, the night wind brushing her cloak aside. And there he was, standing in the doorway, older, weary, and scarred by years of wandering. But his eyes, those same steady eyes from long ago. For the first time in 2 decades, they faced each other again. Neither spoke. The stars above them burned quietly as if watching in awe. The mountains of Carthon 7 stood silent under twin suns. Winds rolled down their rocky slopes, carrying dust that shimmered in the morning light. Among those lonely peaks, the air felt still, untouched by war or empire. And in that stillness stood Marcus Hale, the human who had once vanished from history. He looked older now. The strong soldier she remembered was gone. In his place stood a man marked by years of survival, hair streaked with gray, skin lined from sun and time. His armor was patched in many places, his tools hanging from a belt. But his eyes, steady, warm, and human, were exactly as she remembered them. For a long moment, Queen Lyrana could not speak. She had imagined this reunion countless times in her mind, but now that it was real, every word seemed too small. Marcus broke the silence first. "You shouldn't have come here," he said quietly. His voice was calm, almost gentle, but there was something behind it. Weariness, perhaps fear. Lyrana stepped forward slowly. "I searched for you for 20 years, she said. "I crossed half the galaxy to find you, and now you tell me I shouldn't have come?" He looked down, exhaling softly. "You were supposed to live your life, not chase ghosts," she smiled faintly. "And yet here you are, a ghost who builds homes for others." Marcus said nothing. Instead, he turned and motioned for her to follow. Inside the mountain, she found a hidden world. The outpost was built from stone and steel, carved directly into the cliffs. Energy panels lit the hallways, and faint humming came from walls lined with machines. The air smelled of metal, oil, and something else. Life. Lyrana stopped when she saw children running through the halls, human and alien alike. Some had scales, others pale blue skin, and a few looked almost human. They laughed together, unafraid. "What is this place?" she asked softly. Marcus glanced at the children with a small smile. "Home," he said. "For the ones the galaxy forgot," he explained as they walked. After the explosion on Vareth Prime, he had been thrown into a collapsing wormhole, a rare energy tear created by the blast. It had dragged him across space, leaving him stranded on a derelict freighter drifting near the outer wastes. He had almost died, but scavengers found him. They were refugees, humans, Varethan, and others who had lost everything in the war. Marcus repaired their ship, helped them find a habitable world, and built shelters with his own hands. This world was empty, he said. No governments, no armies, no flags. Just people who needed a place to start again. Lyrana walked beside him, listening quietly, her heart filled with both sorrow and admiration. "You could have gone home," she said. "You could have returned to Earth or joined the Alliance again." He shook his head. "There was no home to go back to. Not for me. And maybe I was tired of war." They reached a large chamber where machines glowed softly. In the center stood a generator, a mix of human and Varethan design. "This is your work," Lyrana realized. "Human tech combined with our energy systems. You built this? Marcus nodded. I remembered enough from your people's designs. Thought it might help the colonies survive the dust storms. Lorana walked around the machine, tracing the smooth lines of the hybrid metal. You've done more than survive. You've created something new. A place where both our species live together. He gave a quiet chuckle. Not exactly part of the Alliance plan, is it? She smiled. Perhaps not. But it's better. For a while they stood there in silence, surrounded by the hum of machines and distant laughter of children. Later, they stepped outside onto a ledge overlooking the valley. From here, the settlement below looked peaceful, tiny lights flickering between the rocky slopes. Lyrana looked up at the twin suns. Do they know who you are? Marcus shrugged. Just an engineer. I prefer it that way. She turned to him, her golden eyes soft. You could have told them the truth. You could have let them know you saved an empire. He smiled faintly. What would that change? I didn't do it for a crown. Lyrana's gaze lingered on him. You haven't changed, Marcus Hale. Neither have you, he replied. Still stubborn? She laughed softly, the sound echoing across the cliffs. It was the first real laugh she had allowed herself in years. For a moment, they stood side by side, not as queen and soldier, but as two souls who had crossed galaxies to meet again. As the day faded, the peace of Carthon 7 broke. From the sky came the distant roar of engines, not the gentle hum of cargo craft, but the harsh sound of raider ships. Marcus's head snapped upward. No, not today. Lyrana followed his gaze. Raiders? He nodded grimly. They've been hunting for this place for months. Someone must have sold our coordinates. Alarms began to echo through the valley. The settlers rushed for shelter as dark ships descended through the clouds. Marcus turned to Lyrana. You need to get back to your cruiser. This fight isn't yours, she glared at him. Don't you dare tell me to run. I didn't come this far to watch you face danger alone. He met her eyes for a long moment, then sighed. Still stubborn, he repeated. They moved quickly through the tunnels. Marcus handed her a pulse rifle, old but functional. She held it with steady hands. Outside, dust clouds rose as raiders landed. Their ships bore no flag, just black metal and greed. Marcus shouted orders to the settlers, directing them to the bunkers. Get the kids below ground. Seal the gates! Then he turned to Lyrana. You take the east tower. I'll handle the power grid. She nodded without question. The battle that followed was fierce but short. The raiders were well armed but undisciplined. Marcus used traps and energy fields he had built himself, forcing their ships to crash before they could land. Lyrana covered his flank, moving with sharp precision, her royal training as a warrior still clear after all these years. For a brief moment, it felt like the war again, two fighters standing against impossible odds. When the last raider fell, silence returned to the valley. Smoke rose from burning wreckage. Marcus leaned against a wall, breathing hard. A shallow cut marked his cheek. Lyrana walked up to him, lowering her weapon. You're hurt, she said. He shook his head. Nothing serious, she frowned. You always say that. He looked at her with a tired smile. And I always mean it. Hours later, as dawn broke, the settlement began to rebuild once more. People came out from the shelters, cheering, hugging, alive. Lyrana watched as Marcus helped repair a broken shield panel, his hands steady despite exhaustion. She felt something stir within her. Admiration, yes, but also something deeper. He had built peace with his own two hands, far from fame or power. He had lived quietly, helping others, expecting nothing. To her, he was more than a hero now. He was hope. When he noticed her watching, he gave a small nod. You should rest, Your Majesty, she smiled. After 20 years, I finally find you, and you still order me around. He laughed softly. Old habits, her gaze softened. You saved me once. And again today. I think it's my turn to return the favor. He raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? She took a deep breath. The galaxy has changed, Marcus. My empire has changed. We need minds like yours. People who can build instead of destroy. Come back with me. Help me rebuild not just Vareth, but the entire border worlds. Together we could bring real peace. He looked away, staring toward the mountains. The suns painted his face in gold and red. I don't belong to empires anymore, he said quietly. This is my place now. Lyrana stepped closer. You belong where you're needed, and the galaxy needs you. For a moment he didn't answer. The wind moved between them, carrying the soft hum of machines and the distant laughter of children. Finally, Marcus looked at her, the same calm in his eyes, but something gentler too. "We'll see," he said. That night, Lyrana stood outside her ship watching the stars. She knew he might refuse her offer, but something told her his heart still carried that same fire she had seen 20 years ago. And though he might stay on this forgotten world for now, the story of the human who saved the alien queen was far from over, because fate had brought them together again. And fate, she knew, was not done with them yet. The morning sun crested the jagged peaks of Carthon 7, casting long golden shadows across the hidden settlement. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of dust and minerals from the nearby cliffs. Marcus Hale moved through the tunnels, his boots echoing softly against the metal floor. He had returned to the workshops early, repairing damaged energy panels from the previous night's attack. His hands were steady, precise and strong. Even after decades of wandering, the human soldier's skills had not faded. Queen Lyrana followed him, quietly observing. She had spent the night talking to settlers, learning more about Marcus's life, his choices, and the world he had built in exile. She was amazed. 20 years of solitude had not broken him. It had shaped him into something stronger, something rare, a human who had faced death, survived the unknown, and devoted himself entirely to helping others without asking for reward. As they walked, Lyrana finally asked the question that had haunted her all these years. "Marcus, tell me the truth. How did you survive that night?" He paused, setting down a spanner. He looked at her with eyes that had seen countless stars, countless dangers. "It wasn't simple," he began. 20 years ago, when the citadel of Varith Prime collapsed, Marcus had been thrown into a vortex of twisted energy, a wormhole created by the explosion of the grav field stabilizer he had activated to save her. Most people who entered such a rift were destroyed instantly, but Marcus had been lucky, or perhaps the universe had other plans. He floated in the void for hours, battered by energy currents and fragments of debris. Memories of the Queen's terrified face and her voice shouting through the comm link kept him conscious. He remembered the promise he made, to survive no matter what. By chance, he was pulled out of the vortex near a derelict freighter drifting in a forgotten sector. The freighter's systems were barely functional, but he managed to repair them. For months he lived in isolation, patching together life from scraps and salvage. And then he found the refugees, humans, aliens, and hybrids, scattered across the outer wastes. They were hungry, sick, and desperate. Marcus had a choice: keep wandering, seek glory, or stay and help. He chose to stay. Lyrana listened quietly, her heart heavy with admiration. The human before her had survived a near-impossible fate, endured hardship, and yet still carried the same courage she remembered. "You didn't just survive," she said softly. "You thrived. You built hope from nothing." Marcus shrugged. "I did what anyone should do. Protect those who cannot protect themselves." She studied him. "That's humanity in its purest form, isn't it?" He looked away, gazing toward the mountains. "Maybe, or maybe just stubbornness. It keeps us alive," she smiled. For the first time since leaving her palace, Lyrana felt at peace. Here was the human who had saved her. Not once, but again every day in the years she had not known where he was. Suddenly, alarms echoed across the valley. Marcus stiffened. "Not again." Lyrana instinctively reached for her pulse rifle. "Raiders?" Marcus shook his head. "Worse, scouts, they're mapping the region. Someone knows we're here." They moved quickly to the command hub, where the energy panels displayed real-time scans of incoming ships. Small but advanced craft approached from the horizon. Fast, sleek, and heavily armed. "These aren't ordinary raiders," Marcus said grimly. "Someone is planning a strike. They know where we are." Lyrana stepped forward, her eyes bright.
"Then we stop them together." He gave her a small nod.
Exactly. For the next few hours, Marcus guided the settlers in preparing defenses. They reinforced energy shields, set traps in the canyon paths, and positioned volunteers strategically. Lyrana moved among them, directing teams with calm precision, her royal training evident even in the rugged settlement. Marcus explained the tactics he had learned during his years wandering the outer wastes. "We fight smart, not just hard," he said. "Our advantage is the terrain. They don't know these mountains like we do. She studied him, realizing something profound. This human was not just brave. He was brilliant, adaptable, and selfless. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for too long. Your empire could learn a lot from you, she said quietly. Marcus glanced at her. I don't care about empires. I care about people. And in that moment, Lyrana understood why she had risked everything to find him. It was not just for herself. It was for the galaxy. The attack came just before dusk. The enemy ships dove from the clouds, firing plasma bolts that lit the valley in streaks of red and blue. Marcus moved with calm efficiency, coordinating defenses, activating shield panels, and sending energy pulses to misdirect the attackers. Lyrana flanked him, using her combat training to move through the streets of the settlement, directing settlers and covering vulnerable positions. Together they were unstoppable, the human and the alien queen, united not by politics but by shared courage and purpose. A raider squad broke through a weak shield section, charging toward the generator. Marcus fired precise shots, knocking them off balance. Lyrana tackled one attacker, flipping him into the dust. They moved with the rhythm of battle, two forces perfectly synchronized. The settlers, inspired by their bravery, fought alongside them, proving that even the smallest hands could make a difference. By the time the sun dipped below the mountains, the raiders were defeated. Their ships smoldered, scattered across the canyon floor. Silence returned, broken only by the heavy breaths of those who survived. As the dust settled, Marcus leaned against the generator, exhausted but satisfied. Lyrana walked toward him, placing a hand on his shoulder. You did it again, she said softly. He shook his head, smiling faintly. We did it together. She studied him for a long moment. Marcus, why do you hide yourself here? Why not come with me? The galaxy could use someone like you. He looked at the valley below, the children, the settlers, the hybrid families. This is my place. I've made a life here. I protect these people. That's enough. Her eyes softened. You saved me once, Marcus. And you're saving them now. But you could do so much more. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he gazed at the stars above, thinking about all he had survived, all he had lost, and all he had built. Finally, he said, Perhaps. But some things can't be fixed by power or politics. Some things need time, patience, care. That's what I give here. Lyrana nodded, understanding. She had seen the same patience in his eyes 20 years ago, and she knew it had never left him. That night, around a small campfire outside the outpost, Marcus shared stories of his wanderings, planets destroyed by war, settlements abandoned, and lives he had saved. Lyrana listened, fascinated. You've seen so much, suffered so much, she said quietly, and yet you help without asking for reward. He shrugged. Someone has to. If not me, then who? Humanity isn't perfect, but we try. We fight, we survive, and we care. That's what makes us human. Her gaze lingered on him. And that's what makes you extraordinary. He laughed softly, shaking his head. I'm just a man who refuses to give up. For the first time, Lyrana felt the weight of the years lift from her shoulders. The search was over. She had found her savior, alive, strong, and unchanged in his spirit. Yet deep in the valley, both of them knew that this peace was fragile. The attack had been a warning. Someone in the galaxy had discovered Marcus's location, and their enemies would not stop until they were removed. Marcus looked at her, serious now. The galaxy doesn't forget, and it won't forgive those who stand in its way. You came here to find me. Now we have to be ready for what comes next. Lyrana nodded. I will fight by your side. Not as a queen, but as someone who owes her life to you. He gave her a rare smile. Then let's prepare. The legend of the human who saved the alien queen isn't finished yet. Above them, the stars blinked silently as if watching. The bond between human and alien queen had been reforged, stronger than ever. Together, they would face whatever the galaxy sent next. And for the first time in 20 years, Marcus Hale allowed himself a small spark of hope. Hope that, even after all he had endured, he was exactly where he was meant to be. The twin suns of Carthon 7 were rising, painting the rocky valley with gold and orange. The outpost was alive again. Settlers tending gardens, children laughing, and machines humming quietly as Marcus Hale worked alongside them. Even after the recent attack, life continued. And somewhere deep inside Marcus, a new sense of purpose had taken root. Queen Lyrana had remained with him for several days, helping where she could, and observing the world he had built. Each moment with him reminded her why she had risked everything to find him, and why humanity, even in the smallest form, could inspire entire civilizations. That morning, Marcus and Lyrana stood on a ledge overlooking the valley. The twin suns reflected off the metal roofs, lighting the settlement like a beacon. "You've built something incredible here," Lyrana said, her voice filled with awe. "These people, they're alive because of you." Marcus shook his head, brushing dust from his hands. "I didn't do it alone. They helped each other, I just guided them." She looked at him, golden eyes steady. "You guided them with courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. That is leadership, Marcus. That is humanity at its finest," he smiled faintly. "I never wanted to be a leader. I just wanted to survive and help where I could." She stepped closer. "Sometimes the right people do more than they realize. You've saved me, countless others, and now an entire settlement. The galaxy owes you more than gratitude." He looked away toward the mountains. "I've never wanted glory. I only want peace, for them and for me." Suddenly, the sensors on the outpost picked up movement again. Scouts or another attack? Marcus quickly moved to the command hub, Lyrana following. The screens showed a large fleet approaching, not raiders this time, but a military armada. Their ships were organized, efficient, and unmistakably Dominion in design. "They're here," Marcus said, tension tightening his voice. "They found us. They must know the human who saved the alien queen lives here." Lyrana's hand rested lightly on his arm. "Then we fight together, as we did before." Marcus nodded. "We'll do what we must to protect this world." The battle was inevitable. The Dominion fleet descended into the valley with precision, firing energy cannons and plasma bolts. Marcus coordinated the outpost defenses, activating energy shields and traps along the canyon paths. Lyrana moved through the valley, helping direct settlers and countering attacks where they broke through. The humans and aliens of Carthon 7 fought bravely. Inspired by Marcus's courage and Lyrana's leadership, they became more than survivors. They became a force. Marcus's tactical genius shone. He predicted enemy movements, used the terrain to their advantage, and minimized casualties. Lyrana fought beside him, her own combat skills unmatched, protecting the weak and guiding volunteers. The Dominion commanders were unprepared for the unity of this small, hidden settlement. Time and again, their ships were forced back, crashing into the valley walls or detonating in midair. After hours of intense fighting, the remaining Dominion ships withdrew. The valley was battered but still standing. Marcus and Lyrana looked around at the survivors, exhausted, dirty, but alive. "You did it," she said, breathing heavily. "No," he replied quietly, surveying the damage. "We did it together." She studied him, her expression serious. "Marcus, the galaxy cannot ignore what you've done. You've built peace here, defended the weak, and survived impossible odds. You deserve recognition." He shook his head. "I'm not here for recognition. I never was. I only want to protect the people I care about." Her eyes softened. "Then let me do this for you." The very next day, Lyrana summoned her fleet. Ships from New Vareth arrived quietly in orbit, avoiding attention from neighboring systems. Lyrana made a decision that would alter the course of history. She declared Marcus Hale an honored protector of the Vareth Empire, giving him the authority to oversee the defense of border worlds and to train future engineers and commanders. The settlers cheered, though Marcus remained calm. He accepted the honor humbly, refusing a throne, rank, or political power. He only requested one thing, that Lyrana protect the worlds he had helped build and ensure that peace remained for the people he cared about. The Queen smiled, a sense of pride filling her heart. "It will be done. The galaxy will remember your name, Marcus Hale, not for conquest or glory, but for courage and humanity." After the ceremonies, Marcus returned to Carthon 7. He spent days helping the settlers rebuild stronger walls, more efficient energy grids, and improved shelters. Lyrana remained with him, learning from his techniques, and together they turned the settlement into a model for other colonies across the galaxy. During quiet evenings, they would sit on the ledge overlooking the valley. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Staying here instead of returning to Earth or joining the Alliance?" Marcus shook his head. "No, this is my life. These people, They matter. I couldn't leave them. She smiled. You've always been that way. Brave, selfless, human. He laughed softly. And stubborn, he added. She nudged him playfully. And that too. Word of Marcus Hale's survival and deeds spread quickly. Colonies in the outer wastes began to adopt his designs, defending themselves against raiders and helping their neighbors. The story of the human who saved the alien queen and the small settlements that had flourished under his guidance became a symbol of hope across the galaxy. Lyrana knew that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or armies, but their courage, ingenuity, and ability to inspire others. Marcus Hale embodied all of it. Months passed. The galaxy was calmer now, but Marcus remained vigilant. Raiders occasionally tried their luck, and remnants of hostile factions appeared from time to time. But under his guidance and Lyrana's support, the people of Carthon 7 and surrounding worlds were prepared. One evening, as the twin suns set, Marcus stood on the edge of the outpost with Lyrana. I never imagined I'd find you here, she said softly, her golden eyes reflecting the fading light. He looked out at the valley filled with life, laughter, and hope. I never imagined I'd have someone searching for me. Not for me, but for the courage I carry. She placed a hand on his shoulder. You didn't carry it alone, Marcus. You carried it for all of us, and you've shown the galaxy what humans are capable of. He smiled faintly. Then my work is done. For now, she laughed, a soft, joyful sound. For now, yes. But the galaxy will always need people like you. Years later, Marcus would still walk the streets of Carthon 7. Children would call him the savior. Settlers would consult him on energy systems, and aliens would ask for his advice on defense strategies. He never sought the title, the fame, or the reward. He lived quietly, helping quietly, always keeping the promise he had made 20 years ago, to protect those who could not protect themselves. And by his side, always, was Queen Lyrana. Not as a monarch over him, but as a companion and ally, and a friend who had risked everything to ensure that humanity's spirit, courage, selflessness, and ingenuity was never forgotten. From orbit, the Varith Empire watched over Carthon 7. From other worlds, whispers spread. The human who saved the alien queen was alive, and he carried with him a power far greater than any weapon: hope. The galaxy learned that sometimes the greatest heroes were not those who conquered planets, but those who built, protected, and inspired. And in quiet moments, when the twin suns bathed the valley in gold, Marcus Hale would look at the stars and smile, knowing he had done exactly what he was meant to do. The human who vanished once had returned stronger than ever. The legend of Marcus Hale would never fade.